Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist, Mike Scalliot, and Jersey Jeff. We are here today. Last week, Mike, you kicked some butt. 4-1. You made some good money, personally. Had a teaser in there. You had some sides. I did well as well. I was 8-1 in the pros. And I think, Jeff, you did pretty good yourself.
2-1 as well.
All right.
Winning week.
Winning week. So I know everybody has to pay a lot of money to listen to this, right? Like zero. So if you followed our advice, we did pretty well, and you paid nothing for it. So I hope you appreciate that. We are at Dom DeMarco's. We're on West Charleston, and talk about Italian food. They have the stracciatella soup is awesome. The pizza is incredible. Tell me the meatballs.
Homemade meatballs, Jim, made by my mother's recipe. Little Rosie, way back from Luzerne County, what we are, the Luzerne
County sports
guys. Yes, we are. And if people are listening to us, we're high finance pickers of pro football, and everybody should have made some money last week. But let's see if that trend continues this week.
Well, it's going to continue. Let's talk about tonight. We've got, this is not a marquee matchup, but it's an interesting matchup. Maybe it's almost for the championship of Florida, except Tampa's involved there too, but they're not in the game. And we have Miami visiting Jacksonville. Gardner Minshew with the mustache against the beard, which is Fitzmagic. And, Fitzmagic has been in the league so long. I think he has like 17 kids or something, and he's got a big family to feed. He's made a lot of money playing football. He's really a smart guy, graduated Harvard. Knows the game. And occasionally he can really be very, very good. And then sometimes he goes off the rails, and he'll throw more passes to the other guys than he does to his own guys. But this could be an interesting game. And the total, I think that's what you got to look at. The total opened 44. It's up to 49. Now, there's been a lot of high-scoring games. So I can see that. And these two defenses are rock bottom against the pass. And both of them are right down at the bottom of the league in defending the pass. And that's probably why the game has gone up so high, Mike.
Yeah, I hear you, Jim. I would play, I would just lean to the over, if anything. I wouldn't play a side because they're both mediocre. But like you're saying, Minshew is playing very good. They got some easy games coming up that they might be able to win. And now Fitzmagic, well, week 1 he beat me. I was on him. Last week I was on him, and I was a winner with him. He pulled out a last touchdown in the last minute against Buffalo. But like you say, you never know what you're going to get from him. But this is a game I really wouldn't watch because I have really no interest in it with these two teams.
I like the Miami coach. I like what they're doing down there. They're rebuilding, and they got Tua in the wings behind Fitzmagic. And we all know, and even Fitzmagic knows, that it's going to be Tua's turn eventually. And you're going to see that around the league with all these young guys. And a lot of them are really good. They're learning the pro offenses in college, and they come right in. They can step right in and make a difference. This should be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to watching it. We also have the NBA last night. Man, everybody needs a hero. And boy, I'll tell you, Miami found a hero last night. Tyler Hero, 20 years old, 37 points. He was insane last night. Now, Mike, you and I have Miami to win the series, so we're happy with that. But we're commenting before, they keep making Boston a 3.5-point favorite in all these games, and they don't seem to be on equal footing when it comes to A, coaching, B, the zone issue, and the inside game. Boston's best lineup is their small guys, but then they have nobody to rebound, and Miami has bigger guys inside, and they're all talented.
I agree with you, Jim. I think Boston has a lot of talent, in my opinion, but for some reason they're not doing well in this series. They've had a few games where they've had a big lead at half or going into the third or fourth quarter, and they're not winning. Brad Stevens, another young coach, very good. Spoelstra won a championship with Miami when he had LeBron and Wade and Bosh. So, you could see that. But, I'm hoping Miami, I think they'll even give the Lakers a challenge if the Lakers can get by Denver. Denver seems to be awful pesty in these games. Down 3-1 to the Clippers, come back and win. Down the same with Utah, come back and win. Now they were down 2-0 and they win the other night. So we'll see how they go tonight. But, I think Miami can give anybody, I think they could give the Lakers or Denver a run. I'm not, like I said, NBA is not my specialty at all. I like to watch a little, maybe make a little wager on it, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm not saying there's a big edge here coaching-wise, but, I'm a fan of Pat Riley. I mean, I've seen him do his job for a lot of years, and he is really good at what he does, and Eric Spoelstra is a very good coach with a couple championships. And if they get beyond Boston, and I honestly think they will, and they run up against the Lakers, they're going to be running up against their old teammate, in LeBron James. And LeBron is, just an incredible history in the game, and he's been around since high school. He came right into the pros. He's been in the league 17 years, and he's still performing at a very, very high level. I think he was the most valuable player. I do know the Greek Freak he got the award, and I agree that he should have gotten a lot of votes. I don't think he deserved, but I think it should have been LeBron. But that's just my one man's opinion, and we cannot lose this screen. What happened to our screen? There it is. So, we go Denver 6-point dog in this game with the Lakers. They're coming off the victory. A lot of people on the zigzag that would go with the Lakers, they lay the points. I couldn't lay points in these spots. To me, it's dog or nothing.
Dog or nothing, right. The Lakers were lucky to win game 2. Davis hits that three-pointer at the buzzer. If he don't make that shot, it's a 2-1 series Denver if things go the way they did the other night. So I think in the NBA, you just play the dogs and hang in there and watch it because, they're in every game. A lot of talented players, But like I said, I think in NBA, you watch the last couple minutes. I don't know if you're a big fan, Jeff, of the NBA, but
As it gets to this time of year, I am, because I like teams like Denver because they're exhibiting a never say die attitude, and I don't like just to hand the crown over to somebody. I want to see a team earn a championship. I agree with you guys. I think 6 is too much in this spot, so I would take the underdog.
Let's move on to some football. We had the Raiders the other night, opened up the stadium here. They played against the Saints. They were an underdog in the game, and they really outplayed the Saints. They looked good. Carr was the best quarterback on the field. Breeze, there's a question mark about Breeze. We're all going to come to the point where we get a little old and we have to walk away if we're playing a physical game, and he is. And it looks like he's lost a little arm strength, and I'm not going to write him off because he's too much of a talent. He's been too great for too long. But the Patriots, not the Patriots, the Raiders beat them. Now, short week, they play Monday night. They got to get on a plane, fly to New England, who's coming off a loss. Great game against Seattle. There was no defense in that game. They just went up and down the field. And, Cam Newton against Russell Wilson, it was a great show. Came down to one play at the end. And, we'll talk about coaching a little bit later. But now you got the Patriots down a 5-point favorite at home against the Raiders. They're coming off a loss. You got Belichick against Gruden. Boy, I don't know, Mike. I have a very strong opinion in this game. I'm going to tell you after I hear what you have to say.
I agree with you, Jim. I'm on the Patriots -6, but you're seeing the line coming down, and I'm noticing something now. If you live here in Las Vegas with the Raider games, if you're going to take the Raiders, you bet them early. If they're an underdog, you bet them early in the week. You get a better number. If the Raiders are favored, wait till later in the week because a lot of people are betting the Raiders. Now, take Monday night. That line came down from 5.5 or 6. I think Monday night it might have closed at 3.5 or 4. So a lot of people are betting the Raiders. That's like today now. I laid 6, and now we're seeing 5.5 and 5. I probably should have waited till Sunday morning. Maybe you'll get 4.5. Maybe you'll lay 4.5 or 4. But you can't tell me you can't go. You got to go with Bill Belichick in this game. Coming off a loss, Cam Newton looked real good Sunday night. It's just that he went against Russell Wilson, and I think he's the number one quarterback right now in the NFL, even though Pete Carroll tried to give the game away at the end because he still hasn't learned from that Super Bowl loss he had with the Patriots. These coaches every week seem to amaze me, and he's like 67 years old in that area. I mean, he's been around football for most of his life, and sometimes they just can't learn, Jim, So I'm on the Patriots -6.
Yeah, and you can get it -5 now, and these are all offshores we're looking at, so it doesn't really have anything to do with the Vegas numbers. And I'm sure the Vegas numbers are reflecting it as well, because you're always going to get some Raider money. But Jeff, how do you see this game?
This is a perfect spot for New England to come to win. Raiders will have to, like you said, Jim, go across country. That's a tough deal in itself. Second of all, I think the Raiders, some of their luster is going to wear off this week. It's nice to start 2-0, but how long can you stay on this team, especially against a quality team away from your house?
Let's talk a little bit about Cam Newton. This guy, he was laying on the couch. Nobody was calling him. Nobody was giving him a shot. And I know he's coming off the injury with the shoulder and everything. But, I mean, they were signing guys right and left all over the league. I mean, Foles goes to Chicago, et cetera, for big money. And there's Cam Newton. And I'm going to tell you what, this guy looks like the steal of the century. I mean, he looks awesome. He looks healthy. His arm is more livelier than I've seen it in years. And he looks better now than he did on the year that he went to the Super Bowl. And he's hitting the wide receivers, and I mean, the strength in his arm, and then he's so big. He's 6'5", like 240, 250. You don't want to tackle him. It hurts to tackle him.
You're right, Jim. He's looking to prove the critics wrong. Everybody's been against him now the last couple of years because he hasn't shown much. And then Belichick, the genius that he is, he figures, well, I'll give him a shot. Let me see if he can play with us. And, I mean, they're 1-1 because last week was a tough game. But they'll be in the mix this year. I don't know if they'll be as good as when Brady was there. But I'm impressed with what I'm seeing with Newton. Like I said, when these, like Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, same. He didn't get any respect during for the draft. And he's going to show the hierarchy at Green Bay that he's still one of the best. And he's off to a 2-0 start, scoring over 40 points in the first 2 games. So I think Cam Newton's on that mission, and I think you'll see it again this Sunday.
We've got the Rams heading to the Bills. Now, the Rams played in Philly last week, flew home to L.A., and now they're going back to Buffalo. That's another scheduling issue that's kind of unfair, I would say. West Coast to East Coast. And now the Bills, they're 2-0. They look very strong. Their defense is very good. Their quarterback all of a sudden become accurate. And they've added Diggs to their wide receiver group, and there is definitely chemistry with Diggs at this point.
Yeah, they looked good last week, the Bills, against Miami. I mean, they didn't cover the spread. But Josh Allen played good. He runs a little bit. They got Diggs, like you said. I'm a Rams fan from way back, and I had the Rams last week. I had them in the first 2 weeks, and they've covered both games. So, to me, like I always said for years, when a home team is less than 3-point favorite, I lean to the dog, and I would lean to the Rams here. It's not a play. So far, the only play has been the Patriots. I'll tell you when it's a play, but I would lean with the Rams. But like Jim said, they would have stayed on the East Coast if this COVID virus wasn't going on. That was the plan. But since it is, they flew back to L.A. and now they're going to come back out. So that should play in Buffalo's favor. Plus, they're at home. But the weather shouldn't be a factor this time of the year. So, but like I said, when you're under 3 as a home team, it's not showing me that you're that strong. But maybe the Rams are getting a lot of credit. And they look like they did a few years ago when they got to the Super Bowl. I think McVay's doing a real good job so far. What do you think, Jeff?
I think I'm going to lean towards the Bills in this contest. I like the Bills' defense. Although I agree 2.5 isn't a very big number, I'm going to stick with the Bills on their defense. I think the travel issue might be a little too much for the Rams to handle this week, too.
Now we're going to go to the Texans. Now, the interesting thing here, the Texans are one of the teams that traded away a really top-quality wide receiver in Hopkins. and he's doing great in Arizona. Of course, Houston is 0-2, and they're going to Pittsburgh. That's 2-0. Pittsburgh wasn't very impressive last week in their non-cover, but against Denver. But Houston doesn't look that good, and Watkins just looks like he's lost without the wide receiver.
Yeah, you're right, Jim. That was a big trade that they should never have done, but Bill O'Brien, and he had something to do with it now because he's more than just a coach. And I can't see why he's even coaching. But now this line has dropped down to 4. I'm seeing. I don't know if Connor, is there a problem with the running back with Pittsburgh with Connor? I mean, I have no play on this game, but I would definitely lean the Steelers at home. I know last week they almost gave that game away to Denver, but I don't see that happening here. I don't see much at Houston. Deshaun Watson, yeah, he's a one-man band. I mean, what do you think, Jeff?
I agree with you. I think that Bill O'Brien is not a quality NFL coach at all. I'm not a big fan of Mike Tomlin either, but I think in this spot, Pittsburgh is the play.
Okay, we move on to the next game. We got another West Coast team going east, and they were on the East Coast again last week. Seems like the first 3 games we got to talk about on Sunday are all West Coast teams going east. And the Niners ended up staying in West Virginia. And I'm not sure why they went to West Virginia, but there might have been some mechanical issue with their plane or something. There's a lot of injuries. Garoppolo's out. The Giants have injuries. They lost their running back. San Francisco's a 4.5 point favorite in this game. Like I said, this is a tough spot, but the Giants are just not that impressive of a team at this point. A new coach, they might develop. They got a young quarterback, 2 years there. But right now, and then, like I said, San Francisco's playing with a backup quarterback. And Mullins, I happen to like Mullins. I've seen him play. He might be better than Garoppolo, and I'm not knocking Garoppolo, but this kid this Mullins looks pretty damn good. And I know the coach likes him.
Yeah, he looked very good last year, Jim, or 2 years ago, when he played before Garoppolo took over. But there are some bad matchups this week in the NFL, and that'll happen when you have a 17-week schedule, and this is definitely one of them. Both teams are all banged up with injuries. I couldn't bet this game with anybody's money, really. It started at 6.5. It's down to 4.5. The Giants without Barkley. The Niners might be without Kittle. They're definitely without Garoppolo. But, I mean, just whatever players are left for the Niners should be able to beat a bad team like the Giants. But for me, it's a pass. Yep.
I'm thinking along the lines of taking San Francisco here for the only one reason. The Giants were really relying on Saquon Barkley to run the ball and try and control the line of scrimmage. He's a big piece of the puzzle for them to miss. On top of other holes that were already existing, I would lay the number. Take San Francisco.
We are going to move on. We're going to take a look at Tennessee at Minnesota. Now, the first thing I have to say is, what the hell has happened to the Vikings? I mean, that looks like a train wreck. Wow. And I know Tennessee is, they're 2-0, going to an 0-2 team, and they're favored. They're on the road. They're 2.5 point favorite. I don't know what to say about the Vikings. This is typically a well-coached team, but boy, this could be just one of those years that they just can't get out of their own way.
You're right, Jim. Well, they lost about 5 players on defense. I mean, Zimmer definitely has the coaching edge, but Kirk Cousins, he signed that deal for all that money, and now you lose Diggs. Like I said, and the defense is weaker, or you're in a tough division. Tennessee, everybody thought that they wouldn't play like they did last year when they made that great run at the end of the year, but, hey, they're off to a 2-0 start. I don't have a play in this game, but I would lean Tennessee. I mean, it's hard to see the Vikings at home getting points, but the way they're playing, they're a team. How could you bet? You can't bet them in my mind, Jeff.
No, not at all. The Vikings are not gelling. They're a mess at this point. Tennessee might be able to win this game. I would suggest maybe an over in this game, just to see.
Well, looking at that, let's look at that. It opened 45.5 up to 49.5. I never chase numbers like that. I mean, I got to give the odds makers some credit for making it 45.5, although I think it's too low. if Tennessee can control the ground game, run the ball a lot, that kills a lot of clock. I don't know. It doesn't look to me like a place where I want to put my money on the over at this number. At 45.5, yeah, I could do that.
I just can't look at the grid and see Minnesota as 0-3. I think they have to come out with a big effort this week, and that's why I would lean that way. I may be wrong. They're 0-2 for a reason, right?
Usually. Cleveland is going to host, I love this name, the Washington football team. That tells you a lot about an organization when they can't come up with a name for their team. So, I mean, Cleveland, they're extra time rested because they played, I think, on Thursday the week before, and they're in a spot here. They're laying 7 points to Washington. Washington has a good defensive line. Other than that, I don't give them a lot of credit for much else. Cleveland has a roster that is very impressive to look at. I got to wipe out the first week when they lost to the Ravens. And then last week they played Cincinnati, which is a rookie quarterback. So I don't think they've really been fairly tested in that situation. They went up against too good of a team and then a much weaker team. So I think 7's a fair number. If I had to play this, I'd play Cleveland because I don't have much faith in Washington. But you're talking about the Browns, and you're talking about 50 or 60 years of frustration. So I don't get excited about laying points with them.
You're right, Jim. I wouldn't play this game. I mean, they're coming, they had like 10 days to rest because they played that Thursday night game. They should have put Cincinnati and Joe Burrow away. They should have beat them by 20 points. But their coaching and play calling in that game I was not impressed with. And, like I said, now you're up to a touchdown against a team that hasn't proved anything over the years. I'm still waiting for them to show me, do they have it or not. Then we'll look at the Washington, and I can say, because nobody's censoring this show and we're not getting paid or anything, but they're still the Redskins to me, and we'll throw that in for some of our viewers. But I wouldn't touch this game, so, I know there's a lot of people thinking the Browns are going to have their comeback season. Well, I want to see it, but this is a pass for me, Jeff.
Usually, most NFL games, I'll find something that meets my criteria. In this game, nothing meets my criteria. Save your money, folks.
Well, there's a winner in every game, and somebody's got to win the game. But I'd bet Cleveland just because of the roster being much stronger and a little extra time to prepare. This might be one where they could showcase what they're supposed to be. They're going to run up against tougher competition down the road, and we'll see what they can do. But I'm not impressed right now with Washington. Cincinnati, who the team at Cleveland beat on that Thursday night, Joe Burrow, rookie quarterback, going against Philadelphia and Carson Wentz, who has not looked good, and both are 0-2 on the season. I don't know what to make of Philadelphia. The line was 6.5. It's down to 4.5. Philadelphia's been banged up. They're getting people back. I don't know what the hell's going on with Philadelphia. My old hometown many, many moons ago. But right now I would not play the game. If I had 7, I'd have taken Cincinnati, but that's long gone. I'm just not going to play this game. I see no edge whatsoever.
I'm just going to lean to the Eagles in this game, Jim, because I can't see them maybe starting 0-3. I give Peterson the edge in coaching, but they both have some injuries, and Joe Burrow was impressive. I think he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL down the line. I was impressed with him against the Cleveland Browns, who we know have some talent, but the line's dropping. It's like I said, it's no play, but I lean Eagles. They're in a pretty tough spot here. I mean, the Cowboys, who knows how they're going to go. They're 1-1 at the moment, so they're not out of this even if they lose the Eagles. That division looks like an 8-8 winner, so a loss wouldn't kill them, but a win would put them right back in the mix again, Jeff.
Can the Eagles exploit Cincinnati's run defense? Good question. If they can, they'll win. If they can't, it's 0-3.
Bears at the Falcons. This is an indoor game on turf. Bears are 2-0. School's still out on them, and Trubisky, of course. is always a question mark. Atlanta has the better quarterback. I don't know how this team figures out how to lose. I just don't know how they do it. They should write a book on it. Dan Quinn probably should have been fired when he was 28-3 and blew it in the Super Bowl, but he's hung around. He did have a good end of last year. I think he was 6-2 at the end of the season. They do have a great offense. They're not a bad team. They have talent, but when it comes to coaching, something is missing. They're a 3-point favorite at home against the Bears. If I had to pick anybody in this game, I'd probably go with Atlanta, but I'm not going to bet it.
I would say Atlanta should be the play, Jim. You got an 0-2 team favored by 3 points against a 2-0 team. That tells you that the Bears wins, one against Detroit and last week against the pitiful Giants, so they haven't played anybody. I mean, now, earlier in the show when we started this, I said how much I have a big wager on under Falcons wins, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, so that could tell you how much I don't like the team. And the coach should have been fired last Sunday in the fourth quarter. But that didn't happen. So, like I said, an 0-2 team favored by 3, that would be my lean. It's no play, but I would lean with the Falcons. I mean, but most people are going to say, well, the Bears are 2-0. You got to take the points. But that's not how you figure these games. Go against the obvious and take the Falcons.
Yeah, because I can't see the Falcons coming out of this 0-3 either. I think that's a great point, Mike. Trubisky is, maybe dancing between the drops a little bit here. I think the Falcons rebound this week and put one on the win column.
The Jets at the Colts. The Jets are absolutely horrendous football team. The Colts, aberrationally, they lost the first game against Jacksonville. Now, Jacksonville might be a little bit better than people give them credit for, and Minshew has played very well. And, in that game, Rivers turned the ball over several times, but a couple of the analysis from that is some of those weren't his fault necessarily, and some of the other players might not have run the right routes, and there was a tip pass also that got intercepted. But the Jets are awful. The Jets are awful. The Colts, to me, came into the year with a great offensive line, good running game, but they lost Mack, so that hurts a lot. But Rivers is an upgrade from what they had last year, at least in experience. And, this game opened 9.5. It's up to 11.5. That's a big number in the NFL. But, boy, I tell you, the Jets are hard to swallow. Putting money on the Jets is a tough thing to do.
Playing the Jets like playing the lottery. But I'll say one thing. The Colts, they're 1-1. They play 2 teams that haven't won a game yet. And now they're going against another winless team, the New York Jets. But how can you lay 12 points with Phillip Rivers? That's 2 touchdowns. It's only a lean, but I would lean under the total of 44 because I don't know where the offense will come from these teams. The Colts will play a little bit of defense, and so will the Jets against the run game. And without Mack there, Phillip Rivers is going to have to score points and win this game, and he's like Fitzmagic. You get a good game and a bad game. So I think, Jeff, you bet the under, in my opinion.
I agree, but I have a bet of my own in this game. I will take the Colts first half, because I don't want to lay the big number. I'll lay a little bit less of a number and figure the Jets come up empty again.
That's very possible. The Carolina Panthers. Now, they're without McCaffrey. That's a big loss, and he's one of the best runners in football. Out to the Chargers, who, they dominated. They played well. They had the Chiefs beaten. Anthony Lynn made some questionable calls. They lose it in overtime. Again, this is another one of those coaching situations. And, of course, you have basically a rookie coach with the Panthers, so you're still on a test run with them. The game opens 7 at 6.5. Chargers are favored. They're at home against the Panthers.
Well, I lean here with the Chargers, Jim. They're going to be without Tyrod Taylor, which I don't think really matters. Herbert from Oregon, the kid looked very sharp last week. He made one mistake, but that's going to happen. It was a big mistake in that game. He could have ran for a first down. He threw across his body down by the end zone, and it got intercepted. When you're playing in the NFL, you can't do what you did in college, and he'll learn that. But I think, Lynn is not that good a coach either, but I'm just going to say I would lean with the Chargers. It's no play because the Panthers without McCaffrey, where's the offense going to come from? Plus, they have a rookie coach, and he's shown that he's a rookie coach, so he's got to learn a little Matt Rule. So, what do you think, Jeff?
I agree. I think the Chargers, even though they caught the Chiefs possibly on the Chiefs look-ahead week, I still think the loss of McCaffrey is too much to overcome. I lean Chargers as well.
The one thing I will say about this, you have Herbert played well last week, but he didn't have a lot of time to stress about being the starting quarterback because it happened like 5 minutes before the game. So that's actually an advantage. Now has all week, and he knows he's the starter, and that's a lot of pressure for a young guy. And the Panthers have a much better quarterback in Bridgewater. He is a talented guy that played for the Saints last year. They won every game that he started for them. He played at Minnesota. He was excellent until he had a catastrophic injury. He bounced back from that. I can't sell that short. That's a huge advantage of quarterback in experience and proven talent. I'm not saying talent, but proven talent. And that's probably why the game has gone from 7 to 6.5.
I agree with you, Jim. And 6.5's another number for me. Like under 3, 6.5, I like to take the dog. Like I said, it's just the lean. But you got to remember, I know what you're saying about Bridgewater, it's all right. But Herbert has played in big games, big bowl games in college against big teams, and he didn't seem to blink. Now, I know what you're saying. He's had all week to think about it. Now we're going to see. It's welcome to the NFL. Are you going to be able to adjust to that kind of situation? Because after this week, you're probably going to play another game. I don't think you'll see Tyrod for a little while. And if you get lucky and win a few games, you might not see Tyrod again. So there's going to be pressure on him, Jeff, but I think he may be up to the challenge.
Well, again, the loss of McCaffrey is huge. I think that's too big of a hole to fill, and I'm going to stick with the Chargers on this game.
The next game, Detroit Lions. This is one of our favorite coaches to bet against is Matt Patricia, and the Arizona Cardinals have, really done a great job. They opened 6.5. They're down to 5.5 right now. Stafford is a very good quarterback, talented group. Detroit, though, it finds ways to lose. It doesn't make me real comfortable to be laying points with the Cardinals against anybody that's quality because they're non-proven in that spot. I think it's, you're really on a wing and a prayer here, this young quarterback. I'm telling you, the Cardinals look really, really sharp. They're 2-0. Lions are 0-2. And from a coaching standpoint, I think all the momentum by the coaches have been with the Cardinals here and not the Lions. I like the Cardinals in this spot. It's down to 5.5 from a 6.5 point open. And also the total went from 53 to 55. I lean to the over.
All right, Jim. Well, you lean to the over. I take the Lions. I made a play here. The Lions +6. They're getting Galladay back, their best receiver. And like you said, Matt Stafford, he's capable of a big game. You got to look at this. If this was week 1 of the season, this line would be 2.5, 3 possibly. So now they won 2 games. All right, they beat the Niners in San Francisco. But last week they beat a bad team, the Washington football team. We won't get into that. But this line is way overpriced. 6.5 was way high. I got it down on 6. Now you're seeing the money coming the other way. Because over the years, in the last 10 years, how many times has Arizona ever been a 6.5 point favorite? I'd have to say 0. I'm probably pretty close. So I know the Lions are 0-2. They gave away week 1 to the Bears. They had that game, but
Week 1 was the Packers, wasn't it?
Packers.
They lost to the Bears week 1.
And
then they lost to the Packers last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and they gave up some points and all.
They
had that big lead. They blew that lead
against
the Bears.
Yes.
And I know I'm not a fan of the coach either, even though he's one of Belichick's disciples. But I just think 6 is too much of a number here. The Lions play hard all the time. They do find ways to lose, but maybe not in this game. This line's about 3 points at least too high.
I don't like either side, but you know what I would do here? This could be one of your two-way teaser games, folks. You could use either one of these teams in a 6.5 point teaser. You can bring the Cardinals down to nothing, make it a pick, or you can go with the Lions and make it up to almost 13. I think that's the best thing to do here.
Good point. Teasers do win. If you pick them right, you cross the good numbers, get away from the live numbers, you can make a value bet. Tampa Bay goes to Denver. Denver's playing with a backup quarterback in Driscoll. That might not be a bad thing. I mean, Driscoll played pretty well last week, and their starting quarterback is very young without a lot of experience anyway. So Tampa, you're going back to the same old story here. 43-year-old quarterback, Tom Brady, new environment, new head coach, a lot less discipline than he was used to with the Patriots, a lot of new guys to get used to. 3 tight ends on the team, which is really surprising. Quality tight ends on the Buccaneers team, and they're not throwing to them, which is including Gronk. So it's really it's going to take a while for this team to gel. They're a 6-point favorite on the road. I see some numbers that might end up 5.5. The Denver might be getting some money. It's tough to play in Denver. Mile High, it's all that stuff going on there. And it might be too big of a number. To me, it's either the dog or nobody, but I haven't bet it.
All right, Jim. Well, I'll bet it for you. I'll take Tampa Bay, and I'll lay the 6 because they get Goodwin back this week. He missed last week's game, so that gives Brady another one of his receivers. And he's played in Denver before, not very successful, but that was against Peyton Manning and a different team with Von Miller and all. But now Denver, they're without the quarterback. They're without Sutton, their main receiver. Also, the draft pick from Penn State, I don't believe is available yet. So, I mean, where's the offense going to come from for Denver? Tampa Bay, they know they're going to be in a battle with New Orleans the whole season. I just think Brady will, show what he's got. The defense will play well. I mean, Gronkowski looks like he's lost a few steps. Maybe he should have stayed retired. I don't know, because Tampa Bay did not need him. They have Howard, and I'm not familiar with the other tight end they have, but they have plenty of weapons. Fournette showed that he could be back. Now you're in Game 3, which is now maybe Game 1 of a preseason sort of type. So I think everybody now should be well ready to play, even though we are seeing a lot of injuries, and I think it's because there was no preseason. But I think Brady and the boys will definitely take care of Denver in Mile High, Jeff.
I agree. I think the injury bug hit Denver just as hard as it hit San Francisco and the Giants. I don't see how they're going to muster up any offense against Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay should win this game.
Now we're going to come to the 3 best games of the week. We've got Dallas, Seattle, got Packers, New Orleans, and on Monday night, we got the big one, the granddaddy of them all, with the Chiefs against the Ravens. These 3 games are going to be dynamite to watch. Not that the rest of the cards are going to be terrible, but this is really marquee football. Dallas at Seattle. I don't know about defense. I don't see these teams defensively. I was kind of surprised, especially the way Seattle gave up so much yardage to Cam Newton. I know Cam Newton's hard to defend. He's an unusual quarterback. He's mobile. He's got a strong arm. And surprisingly, this year he's accurate. Dak Prescott is also mobile. He also has a strong arm. But he doesn't have the same coaching. He doesn't have the same everything around him that the Patriots. So this is interesting because Seattle's about the same line in this game as he was against the Patriots. You got Russell Wilson, who Mike and I believe is the best quarterback in football. And they're a 5-point favorite. 55-56 is the number. I don't see how you stop these teams from scoring unless the weather comes in. Of course, you're in Seattle. That's always possible.
I agree with you, Jim. You know me a long time. I don't make total plays, but in this game I bet the total. I bet over 56 because I think 2 good offenses. The defenses are mediocre at best. The weather's going to be in the 60s. No rain called for on Sunday afternoon. So, I mean, if they could put up 30 points against New England, Seattle, they could do it here. And Dallas put up a bunch of points against Atlanta, which that's not saying much. But, you got 2 high-powered offenses. They just have to get into the late 20s, 28, 30, 28, whatever. I mean, I don't see a lot of stops here by the defensive teams. And like I said, I rarely make a total play, and I'm going to play the over 56.
I think the play here is Seattle. Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in the NFL, and I don't like the way Dallas started last week against Atlanta. If you give any points away from turnovers to Seattle, they could beat Dallas, and they could beat them in a big way.
Green Bay Packers at the Saints. We have Aaron Rodgers. They're 2-0. Saints are 1-1. The Saints did not impress last week or the week before, actually, against Tampa. The question is going to come down to, has Drew Brees lost anything? And the answer, I think, was yes. Is he near the end? The answer, we're all near the end at some point in their life. And, the Saints are a 3-point favorite in this game. You might see less at some point because I'm seeing some minus juice here. But 3-point favorite, Aaron Rodgers, red hot. Granted, he hasn't played the best team so far this year, but he is capable of beating anybody. He's one hell of a quarterback. Let's just face it. He may not have all the weapons. He might be a little pissed because they hired his backup, but they also didn't do him any favors by not getting him more support. But Packers, Aaron Rodgers and Adams, they got a lot of talent. And they could do a job here. It's going to be a tough game. I favor the over. I favor the Packers. And that's the way I'm looking at it.
I agree with you, Jim. This could be a shootout. I'm on the Packers +3. I'm also going to use them in a teaser, which I'll get to when we talk about the Monday night game. But, the Packers, I really like them in this spot. I think the Saints, Brees has lost some speed off the fastball or whatever you want to say. He just doesn't seem the same. And in the dome with no fans should not interfere with Rodgers. I just hope Davante Adams is healthy. He stayed out the last couple minutes of that game Sunday, but Jones is running like lights out. So I don't see the Saints. They struggle here with the Raiders, and the Raiders are, to me, a mediocre team at best. So, the Packers are on a mission. Rodgers is on a mission. Him and Cam Newton are on a mission, Jeff. That's what I see.
Yeah, I understand that historically Drew Brees is a better home quarterback than he is on the road, but I agree. Rodgers has a chip on his shoulder, and they will win this weekend.
We do have to remember we're doing this podcast on Thursday afternoon, and injuries play a big role, especially key players like a Davante Adams or Michael Thomas. We have to check the injuries when it gets closer to game time. And that's definitely something that I would suggest for everybody. We're going to move on to the granddaddy of the week, Kansas City Chiefs at the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, they opened 3. They're a 3.5-point favorite. Total is 54, 54.5, 55. Obviously, given good weather, people are seeing a lot of points. There's a lot of big totals this week.
A lot of totals in the 50s, Jim, and this is another one where it could be another shootout. I'm on the Chiefs in a teaser +10.5. I just think that's too many. I think this could be the AFC Championship match, because if anybody's going to knock the Chiefs out, I believe it will be the Ravens. So I use them in a teaser along with the Packers, the Patriots, and who's my fourth play? The Buccaneers. That's the 4-team teaser for me, Jim, this week, +7. So you can get Mahomes +10.5. I know Lamar Jackson is very good and they're playing great and they're at home, but not many fans will be in the stands. So I look for a shootout, and when you have a shootout, anything can happen. You got two of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL right now, Jeff.
Chiefs look a little sleepy last week, and I believe it was because they were looking ahead to this game. I agree with you 100%. A shootout, definitely. My play would be the over first half. These teams are going to come out like firecrackers.
You can get this podcast on Twitter, Facebook. You can go to jimfeist.com. We are at Dom DeMarco's on West Charleston. Great Italian food. Your brother, my friend, Albert, is the owner. We got Steph over there. We got Bryce over there. They will help. We got, Jennifer? Is it Jennifer?
Janet's our server, and we got Alex in the kitchen. And so we got a lot of talented people here. They've been in business since 2011. it's not my brother's first venture in a restaurant business, but he's friends with the boys from Brooklyn, the DeMarco family. They use the name DeMarco and DeFara, so the pizza's the recipe from back east in Brooklyn, which is very famous to a lot of celebrities, including our former President Obama, and they do quite a good job here. You know, the hours are 11:30 in the morning to 9 at night, so stop in and try some good Italian cuisine.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we broadcast from here every Thursday at 1 o'clock. You're welcome to come by and listen to the show live. Let's talk a little bit. We got a couple minutes. Let's talk a little bit about the playoffs in baseball that's coming up next Tuesday. I mean, we all know that the Yankees and the Dodgers are both favored. The Yankees hit a lot of stumbling blocks throughout the year where they had a lot of injuries. But then they came back and they got healthy and they went on a 10-game tirade where they were hitting like 4 or 5 home runs a day, which is unbelievable. The pitching staff is very marginal. You can get some good outings, but if they can score a lot of runs, they become dangerous. Now they lost the East to Tampa Bay, who I was fortunate enough to bet on to win the East, and I like Tampa Bay a lot. They've had some injuries also this year. I think they had most of their injuries to their pitching staff, but they made it through, and they're a solid club. And there's other solid clubs in baseball. Anything in baseball that you like at this point, Mike?
Well, Jim, I've been a diehard Yankee fan since I was a kid. I think, they're going to score a lot of runs. Their starting pitching could be the weakness in this, but, anything can happen. They're going to start out probably against Minnesota, who over the years they've had a good record, but then you're going to get involved with Tampa Bay, Cleveland, some White Sox, some other American League teams that could be tough. I mean, I'm a baseball fan. I'm not a big baseball bettor, but I'm going to watch that. So I'll be pulling for the Yankees, and I guess the Dodgers, they should get a little competition. Maybe the Padres, and I can't see who else maybe in the National League will give them a run. But the Dodgers seem to have all the tools. They haven't won one since '88, I believe, but this could be their chance, But when you're matching up, in these 5-game series, I guess they start with, you could have a bad game or two, and next thing you know, you're out. So
absolutely,
it's gonna be interesting to watch. It could be a money maker. I would lean to the dogs in these baseball games. The underdogs they're always alive.
Yeah, I like the fact that they expanded the playoffs to more teams. So you have more teams, with a chance. But the perennial favorites are the Dodgers and the Yankees. We'll see how far they go.
Okay, everybody. Like I said, we're at Dom DeMarco's. Come by sometime, whether during the show or not. They have great Italian food. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
En Boost Mobile,